What's good, everybody? My name is Tim Keys, and I'm here to talk about 10 things that Reason can do to improve their product. That's right, 10 things that Reason Studios can do to improve their product. Now, if you saw my last video, I kind of talked about some of the issues that Reason has had, especially over the years, and how they seem to have fallen behind in terms of innovation. Other DAWs have caught up. And as a real quick video, because somebody asked me in the comment section, what about, Mr. Are you sure that FL Studio 5 can support audio? And yes, I own FL Studio 5. I'm not an avid user. I bought it for upgrading purposes, but when I bought it, it was a trip because I found out that back as early as 2006, FL Studio actually had the ability to handle audio, and it did VST support, and you could use it as a VST in another DAW. And in actuality, there's an article for FL Studio 4 that talks about having these features and enabling you to do that. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here I have thrown in my audio. I'm gonna play it. Now this was a vocal chop that I chopped up, but I took that audio and I literally drug it in from here, and then I threw it in there. And as you can see, that's in the audio section. I can drag this out. I can paint these as needed in that section, or I can go in here and put it in the step sequencer itself, and it'll go into the pattern. And if I had longer audio, like a longer audio loop, it would adjust itself in the sense that if it was a shorter duration, or if it was a longer duration, it would only play part of the audio in this section, going one bar through. If I added more, then the duration would extend. So this was in FL Studio. This is 2006. So for some of you who say seeing is believing, here you go. Way back as early as 2006. Actually, in fact, I think 2004, maybe 2003. Whenever FL Studio 4 came out, being able to handle audio in that manner was a feature. So that's important, because if you use Reason and that's been your main DAW, especially if you use it for any extended period of time, and that's your only DAW that you use, you really won't necessarily see how far behind Reason was when it came to developing its DAW compared to the competition. Matter of fact, I've used Ableton 9, the standard and the Suite edition, and they have the MIDI effect. So everything that Reason does with the MIDI players now, where you're able to take the MIDI plugins and the players and stick it on top, and very cool feature indeed. That came out back in 2016. Ableton was doing that back in 2013 with Ableton 9, if not earlier than that. So, interesting, right? There's nothing new under the sun. A lot of these companies borrow concepts from one another. It's just interesting to see how they utilize them. But the idea of having the instrument pulled up, taking the MIDI player, sticking it on top of the instrument, that is literally a feature from Ableton, and I can vouch that as early as Ableton 9, you had the ability to do that. You had to take the MIDI and put it in front of your instrument, the same way you do in Reason. So in a lot of ways, yeah, you really see how far behind Reason, Propellerhead, Reason Studios were in contrast to other companies in the development of their software. Again, not to say that this is a bad DAW. I'll get back to that. Anyhow, 10 things Reason can do to improve it's DAW. So the first one, matching audio BPM in the sequencer. Now, if you're somebody who likes to use loops or, chop up your audio and you want to stick it directly in the sequencer, but you don't necessarily have the matching BPM time or any of that information, DAWs like Ableton and Bitwig will essentially do it for you. You just stick the audio in and it will figure everything out. And now you have the BPM of your audio matching to the BPM of the sequencer. It does it for you, which is very handy, saves you on time. Reason does not do that. There are some advantages to that, pardon me. But on the other end, like we'll play this. I don't need a weatherman to tell me that it's raining memory. So things like that, it's kind of problematic. I could figure this out. And again, you have something like control. I'm holding it down. Yeah, you hold down control. You can stretch it out. And that might help. And sometimes it won't. So having that ability to just automatically sync the audio and, with the BPM of the audio that you have to the audio or the BPM of the sequencer would be a big help, save you on time when you're trying to match that tempo. That's one. Number two, let me get out of this real quick. My word. Come on. There we go. We'll get out of that. Yes, we're going to delete that. Number two, Mimic. Mimic is a welcome addition to Reason, long overdue. Said that already. One thing that I think would help make Mimic a lot better, again, is the ability to at least have the option to take any of your break beats and your drum patterns and, again, have the tempo be in sync with the tempo of your sequencer. I don't know how hard it would be to do this, but I can tell you that the CR8 from Waves has the option where you pull it up, you put your audio in, and you can just hit a button and it will lock the tempo of your audio into the tempo of your DAW. It'll match it up. Reason still hasn't done anything like that for Mimic. Again, it's not necessary, but it can be helpful for a lot of people. That could be a potentially an easy add. And again, that would help the workflow for users that like to chop up samples and deal with audio on that level. Even Recycle has this, and Recycle is like over 20 years old. They should be able to do this in Mimic. I feel like this was just lazy programming on their part, but it should be an easy fix. So that's the second one. Number three, a sequencer update in general. Now, the sequencer in Reason is not bad. And I personally do believe that in a lot of instances, many people's complaints, in my opinion, are probably based on not knowing the key commands. And so knowing those key commands will be your best friend in any DAW. However, at least give the piano roll a face paint. This has essentially been the same piano, or the sequencer has essentially been the same since 2014 with Reason 8. Give or take a couple of improvements here and there to the workflow of what you can do inside. But yeah, they need to continue to develop this. I don't know if they have ghost notes already. I think they do. I've seen Kickback Couture's tutorial, and I think she did something to talk about the ghost notes. So it probably may already have that, but continuing to improve the piano roll and give it a face paint would be helpful. I'm not going to do a whole lot in that right now. Nah. But improving the sequencer, face paint it, give it an update maybe some more colors, maybe some customizable colors, again, something to make the user feel like they're getting something new and contributing to the experience of using this great product. Goes a long way. All right, so that's number three. Number four, the MIDI outputs, like the MIDI outputs and stuff like that. I've heard a lot of complaints in that regards. I know a lot of DAWs where when you're setting up, they'll ask you like certain things when you're setting up. This MIDI goes to, 1, 2, 3, 4 for your outputs, and Reason doesn't seem to have that in the same way, or you have to do a workaround. Fixing that and smoothing that out would be helpful, and I've heard a lot of users talk about that in videos that I've watched, as well as in my comment section when I've talked about Reason in times past. Number five, authorization. Please fix that. Yes, we understand you don't want people stealing your stuff, but if I'm buying the product and I bought it and I put it on my computer, I don't want to have to like always log into the internet in order to use the DAW. And if I'm taking my laptop and I'm going somewhere, or I'm going to like a studio or something, I don't want to have to like not be able to access all of my instruments and plugins, my rack extensions and whatnot, because I don't have access to the web. I feel like if I paid for it, it's mine. I should be able to access those instruments at least on two computers without having to log into the internet or without having to use a dongle. I think that's reasonable. That's just me. Please fix that because that will be helpful for us that have paid. Number, what was that? Number five. I'm on number six. Price drop. Now, yes, you can get Reason on sale right now for $130 as part of their promotional deal. A lot of stuff in their stores 30% off. And I would advise you, if you're on the fence of buying Reason, if you like the workflow of Reason, but you are just kind of like, meh, $200, I ain't paying for it, but I'll pay $130 for it. I'd say it's this is the ideal time you want to jump on that. Or not, maybe wait till Black Friday or Christmas. They may have another sale. Sometimes prices vary. But, you know, dropping the price of the upgrade. I understand the company wants to make money. Things cost more for everybody. Everybody. But selling your product for $200 and not giving your customers $200 worth of update, it is not going to go a long way in having people want to buy your product. I think you want to have a middle of the road approach. Why not $150? I think that's very reasonable. Here's why I say that. If you use any other product like Ableton Standard, you go from Ableton Standard version 10 to version 11, that's going to cost you roughly about $150. If you upgrade Bitwig from, your prior license to upgrading the new license and getting one of those license cycles, it's going to cost you $150. In my opinion, Reason kind of sits in that space between the two in terms of, what they offer, the user experience, so forth, and its approach to music. I think $150 is reasonable. Mind you, that Bitwig, they have promotions when you upgrade. They may even throw in a brand new synthesizer from a supporting company. That synthesizer may cost about $100 additionally, but you're able to get it for free when you upgrade your Bitwig license. I think 150 would be the sweet spot. And I think if Reason were at that price point, I think a lot of people could be like, okay, yeah, we don't like the price hike, but 150 is not bad compared to $200, right? Especially if you were preaching, we don't want the barrier of entry to our products to be too high, right? And somebody in the comment section pointed that out too. They had Reason Light a while back, $99, probably pound for pound, one of the best deals that you can get for any DAW in terms of what it provided for $100, because you had I'm ranting. I apologize. But you got access to, like, you had Europa, you had some other instruments, you had unlimited recording, all of this stuff for like 99 bucks. And you could go buy rack extensions as you saw fit, all for 99 bucks. So you were introduced to the ecosystem of Reason, and you were able to expand your stuff as needed. VST support the whole shot. 99 bucks. That was a great deal. They took that off, did the price hike, as we all know. They had Sweet Edition, took that out. We got to figure out what we're trying to do. And I don't mind paying 200 bucks, but if I'm paying 200 bucks, you're going to give me 200 bucks worth of quality updates. I'll get back to that. Number 7, modular components. So, Reason was kind of dope with the Combinator when it first came out back in 2003, version 5. Combinator was awesome. There wasn't a lot out there that was like it at the time. Now we fast forward to the future, and we got the Max for Lives, we got the grids. Studio One has a Combinator. Ableton has the Sheesh. They have instrument racks. So does Bitwig, and even Reaper has its own instrument rack, and I think so does Cakewalk, which is free. Get into that another day. And they all allow you to pretty much do the same thing, where you can combine instruments and effects to create these, customized, more powerful units. Reason has finally updated the Combinator, giving you more features. I think if they want to kind of improve that sense of innovation, in my opinion, or at least give the illusion of improvement, yes, we can take instruments and chain them in all sorts of different ways and make them sound cool and, do some face painting, if you will. Nothing wrong with that. However, why not take that a step further? Because at the end of the day, the sound that's in the subtractor, no matter how many instruments you run it through, yes, you can make it sound different, but ultimately it's still the subtractor. Likewise, the sound that you run in from Thor is still a Thor. Yes, you can chain it. Yes, you can make it look pretty by customizing the combinator, adding the knobs, but ultimately what's under the hood is still the Thor. The only true area where you have real originality, if you will, is when you use the samples or the samplers. You import your own samples and throw it in, then you're going somewhere, which is what the old guys back in the day used to do when they did refills. Anyhow, you could now, if they were to add modular components, I think that would be a big help. And here's what I mean. Yes, you have these instruments, you can slap them in, but let's say you made a new engine where you had an oscillator module, kind of like an actual, Euro rack unit, right? Where you had an oscillator module and it just tuned in, you had your standard oscillator, square sine, whatever. And then you had another oscillator that was digital and it had digital waveforms. And then it had another one that was sample, right? Yes, you can do this in that, but what I'm advocating for is like straight components. And then let's say you wanted to chain different ones together. So if you wanted to truly build a 4 oscillator or a 7 oscillator, unit, you could, but you didn't necessarily have to worry about chaining all of these other things together to do that. You would still have that option, but if you want to go a step further and get deeper into customization, you could do it because now they have the components. Likewise, they had instead of taking your audio file and running it through the Thor, you could still do that, but then let's say you had a filter unit where you could take that filter, and that filter may have multiple filters like state variable, scaling key, ladder, and so forth, comb, format, and you just had a filter, and it had a just a wide variety of filters that you could choose from. And again, you could chain these modules up together however you wanted to create different sounds. They had, and it would have different features from your Thor, your subtractor, whatever's already in your effects, to really give that user the sense that now they're building a custom instrument. And you have the ability to add your own face paint to your combinators and so forth. I think this would go a long way. The combinator has been a sweet spot for Reason users for a long time, and making it much more modulator and modular, pardon me, and giving the user the sense of having these components, if you will, to really build out the modulator. I think that would go a long way, and help kind of like reestablish Reason as an innovator, especially in this creation music sound department, because it can do that very well. I hope that made sense. Number 8 for improvements. Update these old instruments. My goodness, not Thor, Subtractor, pardon me. Good old trusty Subtractor has been around from jump. I appreciate it because, yeah, if I want to pull up my old song from 2007 using Subtractor, I can't. And that's great. I feel like in 2022, let's make an update. Let's add something to it. Let's add a couple more waveforms, maybe an additional filter here and there, some envelopes, just something to, again, give the user a sense of newness. The mouse drum, again, great device, been around since 2003 with Reason 3. Sounds great, got a lot of cool stuff in. How about we add some more sound sources? Add some more filters, something. Again, give that user a sense of newness. One of the things that made Reason remarkable and still makes Reason remarkable, in my opinion, is you don't have to, it has great sound. It sounds good. And even though I own a lot of plugins, I don't necessarily have to reach for them if I don't want to, because Reason can cover a lot of territory. That's just my opinion. Update, a face paint, if you will, to these instruments with some added features, would be nice. Same thing with the Thor. The Thor is great. 2007. Let's add some stuff to it. Let's make it pretty. So there's that. Let's see. Number 9, VST support version 3. We still don't have it yet. They need to add it. It is necessary in 2022. It is May of 2022, and they still don't have it. Go ahead and add that VST3 support. I think that would definitely help because, again, there's so many changes happening in the realm of technology, and most platforms are moving off of VST2 and transitioning to that VST3 space. They need to go ahead and add that feature into the DAW to help it stay current, stay with the times. So number 9, VST3 support. Lastly, number 10, fixing the bugs. It has come a long way. This program is a lot more smoother than it was back in September when it first came out. It's a lot faster. I'm not reaching for version 11 as much. And then there's still these bugs. And I don't know, it seems like, again, for the past couple of updates for Reason 11 and Reason 12, a lot of bug issues. Reason 12 especially, I think this has to be the worst in terms of the amount of bugs they had in it. But a lot of issues with bugs. And, again, for what they offered, what they had you pay for it, you would think that you shouldn't have had that. I'm going to show you this again because I want you guys to see it. So, just so we're clear, this was all cool when it first came out. Bug fixes. All right, so we got some new stuff here. And then 12.1, bug fixes. Fix the bug, fix glitches. Yes, they added some stuff that makes it, a little bit more customizable, but bug fixes. Again, you got Reason 12, you probably felt cheated because you paid for a whole bunch of bugs. You got a halfway improved, new updated sampler that kind of works almost as good as the competition. You got an improved search engine, kind of, sorta, that almost is sufficient compared to some of the competition. There's some free counterparts out there that worked better. And you got bug fixes. Now with this new one, fix the bug. Improved errors. Again, most of the stuff fixing bugs. Said this in the last video. Bugs are bound to happen. Yes. You got to deal with all the different possible factors and, something that's bound to come up. But, this definitely seems like they rushed the product, and it definitely hindered the user experience. And, moving forward, either take your time and delay it and not rush it, or, make sure when you come out, set a later due date, so when it does come out, you're not dealing with these problems. So again, I'll go over that. Number 1, matching audio BPM to the sequencer. Number 2, matching the BPM and the loops. For Mimic, at least make it optional to that of the sequencer, so you can match the audio of your loops and Mimic to the BPM of your sequencer. Do it in Mimic, do it in the sequencer. Number 3, update the sequencer, give it a face paint, make some more improvements. Number 4, MIDI outs and MIDI outputs when you're dealing with your instruments. Fix that, smooth it out. Number 5, authorization. Please fix that. I don't want to have to always log in every time I'm using your product after I paid for it. Makes the user kind of not feel like, it's really theirs. And it just creates problems for those of us who travel and, we're dealing with clients. Number 6, price drop. $200 on a regular, I'm not going to buy it. I'll buy Ableton Suite for that much when it comes out, because I know what Ableton Suite is going to do. No offense to Reason, in my opinion, they're just not there yet. Drop it down to $150, you'll have a consistent buyer. That's just my opinion. Number 7, modular components. Add some more modular components to the combinator to give their user the experience in the sense that they're feeling like they're building an instrument from the ground up. Yes, we can chain stuff together. Yes, we can do a face paint, if you will, in a combinator, but ultimately those are still, the stock instruments chained and, linked up to make interesting sounds. Go a step further, add those modular components in, and let the user really feel like they're having a customizable experience. That'll go a long way. Number 8, update the old instruments. Please do. It's about that time. Number 9, VST3. Yes, VST3. Please do that already. And then lastly, number 10, fix these bugs. Please don't rush a product like this again. If you got to push the deadline back, just be honest with your customers. We're going to push the deadline back, and if it's a product release like updating from Reason 7 to Reason 8 or Reason 12 to Reason 13, just don't announce it. Just don't put it out till it's done. Just don't put it out till it's done, because there's nothing worse than spending money on a product and it's incredibly buggy, and now you've frustrated your users to the point where it's like, man, they don't even want to use the new stuff. They roll back or they just switch to something else because you didn't do your due diligence, and now we got mad bugs in our product. Let me know what you think in the comment section. What new features would you like to see in Reason? And, for those of you that have been watching, I appreciate you. For those of you who may disagree with what I have to say, hey man, at the end of the day, we, the user, we support these companies, we keep them in business. Yes, they help us by providing us with the tools that we need so that we can make music, but we in turn, we spend our money. And I'm not working for any company. If the company is not giving me what I need to produce the music that I'm looking for, or if they're selling me broken tools, hey, the competition is out here. So that's how I feel about any company that, is providing that experience. It's supply and demand. But let me know what you think in the comment section. I appreciate y'all who have been watching these videos. I'm Tim Keys, and I'm out. Peace.